Speedromizers, did you eat your eats? Did you drink your drinks? Did you pet your pets? Did you vote on this Tiltify poll? Because my goodness, it is incredibly close. In fact, the tie was broken. This has been a bit of a saga in the last 5 minutes, and for the next 2 minutes, it could still be a saga. Get in there right now before I finish reading these, if you want to make a difference. I'm seeing folks already in. We love this here. I mentioned we were only $3.21 away from a tie. $3.21 donation from Illegally Sam. Mwahahaha. Now somebody else has to donate to break this tie. Within 1 minute, a $1 donation from George. Tie broken, Sam. Smile. Immediately after that, my goodness, they kept rolling in. From Seriously Surly, $21.20. Go fast. And it looks like here, George had broken the tie in favor of Engine to the tune of $1. Go fast. That $21.20 went to Coco, so now we have Coco in the lead. $15 donation from Anonymous didn't go to anybody in the poll, but it does tip us over the line. $1,550 for QMUNITY. Shoutouts to this phenomenal community. And yes, shoutouts to you, because with that, we have also broken the donation line from Speedromizer 5. What an incredible, incredible feat for us to have achieved. It is always, always beautiful to see one goal overtake the next. And gang, I am so happy to see so much love pouring out, even at the last moment, right? Because at the end of the day, as long as you've gotten it in under the finish line, that's not a phrase, is it? No, it's not a phrase. I feel like the phrase I'm looking for is in the same, it's in the same family as C's get degrees, but let me tell you, y'all are getting A's the way that you're behaving right now. This is just absolutely incredible to see. I'm gonna give y'all like another 30 seconds here to get a couple last donations in, see if y'all want to tilt this character balance. But I want to thank y'all again so much for supporting QMUNITY, who offers wraparound services to ensure program participants are able to access the support they need across a variety of programs and services, including an employment program launched in 2022, designed to help two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersexual, and asexual folks overcome barriers to employment. Goodness gracious. Y'all are doing so much. You got me running out of breath. I am just so impressed and amazed by y'all. Thank you so much to everybody who's come in. And again, exclamation point donate for that there. We've got we've had some really incredible runs this weekend, and I'm so honored to help come to just about nearly close out this event. That a game I submitted here for Speedromizer was chosen to clear this out, and I could not have asked for a better runner who has very much, even if the live stream practice sessions came in a little bit late, the research was clearly there, the work was put in, and I'm really excited for our runner to be able to showcase this for you. Crash Team Racing, any percent, no major glitches. If everybody is ready to go, Spooty, take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm Spooty, and I'm here to show you all some Crash Team Racing. This is a game that I kind of got lucky in the lottery. This is a game from my childhood. I played this a lot as a kid, even like beat all the relics, got 101% in the adventure mode and beat all the oxide times. But man, is that an entirely different beast from top-level speedrunning. Not that I'm going to be providing exactly top-level speedrunning, but I'd like to think I've gotten pretty good in the last few weeks that I've been practicing this game. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and just go ahead and jump into adventure mode here. Yeah, Tara commenting on the live stream starting a little late. Yeah, the gear I needed to do some console capturing. Took a little while in the mail to arrive, but yeah, definitely been doing my research and doing my practice where I can. And yeah, just a few hours, I finally broke the 1 hour barrier on this. So, you know, looking at a 1 hour and 10-minute estimate, I'm excited about this. Now, before we start, I believe there was a bid war
yes,
that I need the answer to here.
I believe that poll should be closed unless a $20 donation comes through in the, 5 seconds you're going to have. It looks like Coco here.
Coco, okay.
Congratulations, by the way. Opening up this bid war helped to raise $68 towards QMUNITY. So thank you so much for being flexible on this character selection. Chat, for those of you unaware, there are 4 different character classes: turning, balance, acceleration, and speed. Speed is technically the optimized character class. However, the differences between speed and acceleration are minimal enough until you get to a pretty high top level. And quite honestly, the point of speedrunning in my mind is to have fun. If you're having more fun with an acceleration character or a turning character, just do it, just run it. You're gonna have a great time. For those on our tech team, time is going to start when Spooty gains control of the kart racer. So you're gonna see a flag cross over the screen, you're going to see the flag come off the screen, and you're gonna hear the ka-chunk as the kart hits the ground. That ka-chunk is the moment Spooty gains control and time begins.
Alright, yeah, so we'll go ahead and get this party started. So yeah, once this loading screen is out of here, we will start our Crash Team Race. Here we go. So we're gonna get these. We're gonna get these hints.
Welcome to the adventure.
Welcome to the event. Yeah. Just got a match triangle. Dismiss those when they come up. We'll be seeing those in the first half of the run, but we'll be starting off with Crash Cove, arguably the most basic course. It's just a pretty straightforward oval, and it's a great place to kind of get accustomed to the general mechanics. And we start with revving up the engine there. You want that red gauge in the bottom right to be full when the countdown finishes, and you'll get a bigger boost that way. And you'll be seeing, I'll be doing a lot of power sliding here, and you'll see that same gauge down the bottom right filling up toward and turning red. Oops, kind of turned the wrong way there. You want to try and hit the L1 or R1 button right as it hits, right as it's perfectly full to get the largest possible speed boost in most cases. You don't want to be late though. If you're late to press it, then you just lose the ability to boost for that power slide.
So this is a very, very unique mechanic in the world of kart racers. Mario Kart does something similar with drift boosts, getting mini turbos off of that. For those, you have to hold the drift as long as you can and release it as late as possible. Crash Team Racing gives you a little more control in that regard. For anybody looking for a more visual representation of this, there is a newer kart racer out called the Karters, which does actually represent, it shows those bars filling up 1, 2, and 3. You can get a total of 3 mini turbos off of these power slides. And that third boost will be just a little bit stronger if you can make it all the way out to it. But it does provide a lot more control at a much more granular level, which means that the skill ceiling for Crash Team Racing can get very, very high.
Oh yeah, the skill ceiling for this game is absolutely through the roof. Yeah, for the record, I believe the world record is a 48:20 by HypnoShark. And like you're probably gonna like if you're not familiar with the game, you're probably already thinking, I'm like, this looks pretty optimal. Like you know, he's doing these power slides, getting all these boosts. How can you go much faster than that? Oh, so many ways.
Yeah, we'll be asking later on if we can go faster, and I'm sure we'll get an answer somewhere. For some of you may know what I'm talking about already, but for those of you who don't, just you wait. Welcome to Ruse Tubes, a fabulous, fabulous level to not only demonstrate power slides, but also with a surprising number of hills that are good for something called speed ghosting. When you are already boosting, continuing to go down a hill, that gravity can kind of keep pulling you down and give you a little bit of extra speed that way. The physics in this game are incredibly subtle, but incredibly detailed at the same time, and there's just something beautiful about that to me.
just a mini turbo back there. If you accidentally, like I was talking about, if you let the gauge fill all the way up and past the top, you'll hear, like, it's kind of hard to pick up if you don't know what you're listening for, but you'll hear like a little backfire sound effect to just signify that you missed the turbo and that you're not going to be able to get any more turbos to that rest of that slide.
And if you continue to slide beyond that point, you'll wind up spinning out, which can be very, very dangerous. You learn very, very quickly not to ever let it get to that point. Thankfully, the recovery is as easy as just letting go of the drift, getting back into another drift. This is also a pretty good demonstration of the hang time turbo, although Crash Cove did a pretty good job of that as well. So you may notice there is a second gauge on the right-hand side. Anytime that Spooty goes off of a jump, you may notice that that gauge goes up and up and up, or at least on most occasions. What's happening is, essentially, when you have landed from that jump, you get a speed boost based on
when you get a TNT
hang time, hence hang time turbo. These are all hints that Aku Aku is so helpfully giving us right now. However, thanks to the magic of speedrunning, we'll be skipping most of those.
I've just got a mash triangle around a certain time. There, it's like 2 seconds into the hint. You can skip it.
There is
coming up on Mystery Caves, and yeah, this one's got like it's kind of a little cheeky little cut you can take right at the beginning here. Didn't quite get the bounce I'm looking for there, but still saves a little time despite the slowdown of that stone floor there to cut through that area.
And this is probably a solid demonstration of the risk-reward of shortcuts in this game. The level design in Crash Team Racing is really, really good at making you decide, is this going to be worth the risk? Is it going to pay off? And you know, sometimes it will, and every once in a while you may find yourself accidentally hitting a wall. If you go off-road, of course, you wind up going just a little bit slower, but you can counter that to a degree with a technique called frogging. Spooty, I don't think I've seen you do this very, very often, but I have seen you try to it. So frogging is a situation where somebody may find themselves jumping over and over. Off-roading slows you down if you are on the ground. If you are in the air, you're not slowing down. So you may see somebody jumping up and down if they're in an off-road area and they don't have the ability to speed themselves back up. That is the flip side to frogging, is being up in the air means you're not going to be slowing down for off-roading, but you're not going to be able to accelerate either. So if you're already at a low speed where you no longer have any boost reserve available to you, you may not want to be frogging off-road. So highly situational. Some of these lines are really, really solid through caves here. It is possible to boost through that little cave's shortcut there, but it is very, very tricky to get that line just right.
Yeah, there's so many like subtle little like dips and rises in the track, and like you hit them in certain angles, you can like really get a surprising amount of height sometimes, which is very helpful if you can find those angles in, yeah, like off-roading shortcuts like that. I have a pretty hard time finding the right spot for Mystery Caves, because yeah, you can pop up strangely high there if you get the right spot.
There are actually a lot of very, very strange spots to get height. My understanding is that the double jump, where you land a jump and then take another jump immediately, can sometimes also provide a little bit of extra height. That's part of the mechanic that helps folks make a jump over a fence in a level called Blizzard Bluff. You'll be encountering that later on. That is a skip that you go for pretty frequently. It's the first unintended skip. Sewer Speedway, coming up here, has one of my favorite intended skips that looks very dramatic. And that, while it is technically an intended shortcut, is not one that speedrunners use at all in the intended way.
See if I can get it. I'm sometimes having a little bit of a hard time. Oh, that's good.
There it is. So that can be a hard one to land. You do have to manage to hit the geometry on these half pipes just right. This level is a lot of fun because if you were a kid in the 90s who had a chance to play this game when this was originally out, you also may remember Skateboard Fever. This level being so full of half pipes where you can essentially do you can get a very, very fun skateboard feel from kart racing. But yeah, that is actually it's not an impossible jump, but it is harder than it looks, right? And there it was. I saw you land and you started rolling downhill in the half pipe. Ooh,
bad timing. Barrel cycle there.
So the cycles are relatively consistent, so it's something to think about there. What's interesting about this game here is when you load into a level, and there are a number of other games that function like this, restarting a race does not reset the cycles on all obstacles. Exiting a level and loading back in will. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to restart a level, well, you're probably not going to get world record, but you also need to watch out for those cycles changing on you. 3 for 3 on the Sewer Speedway shortcut. Take a look at the mini-map there. You'll notice near the top left-hand corner, there's that one offshoot that skips a big wide curve. That's the one you saw Spooty just take. And there's a U-bend at the very top of the level. We ignore that in the speed run, simply because it's a longer way to go. In the main adventure mode, there is something called a relic challenge, where in addition to being just a basic time trial, there are a number of crates scattered across the level that will pause the timer for 1, 2, or 3 seconds. That area does have a lot of those, but we don't need those for this run. Hello, Ripperoo. How are you? Lovely to see you.
Funny thing about Sewer Speedway's relic challenges in particular is that you get a 10-second bonus taken off your time if you collect all the crates, and it's actually really easy in Sewer Speedway to end up with a negative overall time.
And there are a couple levels like that are just very, very fun. To just watch the time not tick up at all and then tick down further than you would have imagined. So this is our first boss race in adventure mode. Once you've completed the 4 main levels in a hub, the boss of that world will challenge you to a race. This is Ripperoo. So the gag with bosses, you only have one other person to compete with, but they are relatively quick and they have an infinite supply of weapons to throw at you. Ripperoo's weapon of choice is the TNT crate, which Aku has explained to us we can bounce up and down to get the TNT crate off of our head. Thankfully, we do not need to do that. If you can get ahead of a boss and stay ahead of a boss, you are golden. Spooty's actually done a couple of things to make that happen. First off, just getting that starting boost, but second off, you've taken the time to really master that inside cut at the very end of each lap, where you go off-road and cut inside of a mushroom. It is not hard to accidentally rush and run into that mushroom, right? So you do want to be real careful about that. That is a very, very narrow needle to thread, but 3 for 3, well done.
Yeah, if you want to go really fast, you can actually like power slide behind the mushrooms. I was trying to do that for a while in my runs, but like almost like half the time probably I would either hit the wall or hit the mushroom, and that would just like kill all the speed, kill all your boost reserves. Like, it's not a good time if that happens. Just way more reliable to just drive through it straightforward.
As we move from Hub 1 to Hub 2, boost reserves is actually something I don't think we've explained particularly well. So there is a top speed at which each racer can go. That top speed is expanded by having Wumpa. If you've ever played Mario Kart, it's kind of similar to having coins, right? But essentially, you can boost and you can boost and you can hit a top speed, and then suddenly you hit a ceiling. Any additional boosting you do will go into what are called reserves. So there is a mechanic, essentially, that takes your extra boost and squirrels it away so that when your top speed drops down, or when your speed drops down below top speed, you can call on those reserves and bring yourself back up to top speed and maintain that through the run. So that was the longest run we are going to see between levels. There are some runners who actually create a split just for that hub travel. Spooty, another flawless hub travel there. Welcome to Tiger Temple. There is one very fun shortcut here, which it looks like we are about to see. We have opened the mouth. So you can see that on the mini-map as well. There's that little shortcut there. This is the first shortcut that hinges on just a little bit of RNG, random number generation, which essentially is, quick speedrunner lingo for those who are uninitiated. Essentially random chance. Seeing what kind of item you get. Now the trick with the shortcut in Tiger Temple is you need to have a projectile that you can throw in order to open the door. We have gotten very lucky in that we've now gone 2 for 2 on potions, which you can throw in front of you, bombs, which you can throw in front of you, and shields, which you can fire in front of you. Using a shield as an offensive weapon, very, very fun thing to do. Now, if you have a shield on and you get a TNT or a nitro, those actually can be useful for this. So I'm not recalling the name for the technique. It's been a long day, but there is a way to put on a shield, grab a TNT or a nitro, shoot a shield at the door in order to open it, and as you're driving through, leave that TNT, which will then hold the door open, so you don't need to worry about RNG next time. You just have to worry about dodging your nitro or TNT.
I actually didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it comes up so rarely, but
yeah, as evidenced by the fact that I didn't see a single shield that run.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing, is once you're in first place, the chance of getting a shield drops fairly significantly. You've got a 40% chance at a nitro and a 40% chance at a potion. If I'm recalling my percentages correctly, again, it has been a very long day after 2 very long weekends.
You heard the man, I can go faster.
We can indeed go faster.
No matter, you can be on world record pace, and Aka will still tell you you can go faster.
It's true. Every single time. Uka will tell you to go faster too, but more mean. That's always fun too, is seeing what character people choose in Excel class, because sometimes it'll be the mask that influences their decision more than it will be a character. The basic story behind this game actually does start with a nap in Coco Park. Or no, it was a race in Coco Park is the scene in the opening cutscene. Nitrous oxide, an alien from a distant planet, has come to Earth to challenge everyone on Earth to a race, to a series of races, a test of skill. And it has said, essentially, if we are not able to beat him in a race, he will turn the globe into a concrete parking lot. This is an alternate universe where humans have not already done so. Something to keep in mind, the stakes are actually very high, turning this world into a concrete parking lot. So we don't want that to happen. And so all of the characters from the Crash franchise have come together to challenge each other to figure out who will be the best test of Oxide skills, who will give them the best chance of survival. Coco Park winds up being an incredibly basic course. Spooty, you had mentioned that Crash Cove was a basic course, but Crash Cove does give you a chance to check out shortcuts, to check out Hang Time Turbo. Coco Park is a circle. It is a classic NASCAR circle with a little bend inside. I think there's a Mario Circuit course that looks like that. There's definitely a Mario Kart course that looks just like Coco Park. There's gotta be.
Yeah, Coco Park definitely the most basic track in the whole game. Like, it's a big oval. The track is extremely wide.
Get a turbo.
There's not like any hazards or anything. Yeah, very straightforward, and just kind of really is a good test of like just your raw movement in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we go from one of the most basic courses in the game to one of the most technical. Welcome to Papu's Pyramid. Yeah,
there's a big skip here I'm not even going to be attempting.
Yeah, I'll explain that one a little bit later when we get to it, but first off, for the game to dump you into a series of incredibly tight turns, the turning characters are, to my knowledge, one of the only characters that can easily clear every single one of those turns without hitting a wall. It is possible with a speed character to boost 3 times, boost 2 times, and then pull what's called a U-turn into the final curve and hit the turbo pad to get a running start, but it is incredibly difficult to do that. So shout outs to everybody who practices it. Yeah, this can be a favorite for a lot of folks. Now what you saw Spooty pull at the end of lap 1 there was an intended cut. So there is a big curve at the very end of the level with a couple of arches and a couple of plants that you need to dodge. Deku Babas, knockoff piranha plants, who knows, but we're skipping that archway altogether. That is something that Oxide's Time Trial Ghost does. There is a more advanced version of the skip named Tiziano after the runner who found it. Essentially what you have to do is you have to find a way to get enough speed to launch yourself from the first ramp up to the pyramid onto the wall near the end of the course. Get yourself jumped again into what's called a no mask zone. Normally there's a checkpoint system that I'll wind up explaining later that stops you from advancing too far in a course that overlaps itself. But you have to land in a very specific zone so that a mask does not collect you, pull you off the track, and put you back on the track. It is an incredibly difficult skip. Even World Record tries to get items to do it and only attempts to do it twice instead of 3 times over the course of the race. So incredibly challenging technique, absolutely, wonderful to see folks pull it off, and you can still get a real decent time by doing what Spooty's done here. We are now jumping into Dingo Canyon. Very, very vertical level. So Coco is an acceleration character for those out of the loop. Yes, Coco is also a Bandicoot. Bandicoot power, in fact. I'm very sad that my live stream here does not include audio. I would love to be making comments on all of these voice lines. Spooty, if you ever hear anything, feel free to shout it out.
Those armadillo hitboxes mess me up sometimes. Like, I didn't feel like I hit that, but I guess I did.
Hey, it happens every once in a while, and a spin out at least is something that's much easier to recover from than, say, getting hit by a nitro and taking a big tumble. That's something I fell into a lot, was running into my own items because I was laying them down on lines where I was the only racer that would hit them.
Hit the cactus.
We see some of the risks of taking the inside curve. Again, there is a way to boost through that, but it is deceivingly difficult. I mentioned Dingo's Canyon is a very vertical level. Woo!
Bomb jump scare.
Okay. Wow. Love to see a close call every now and then. My goodness gracious. This is an incredibly vertical level. Again, another great place to just simply roll downhill. A great place to really test the accuracy of your jump. When you're going down into the water here and coming back onto these streets, managing to get a jump that gets you a hang time turbo off of those is incredibly difficult. So anytime you can get a high jump off of that, it's an accomplishment. One more jump off of here. And we are going to receive a challenge. 4 courses down, 1 more to go.
Yeah, you're gonna see that that formula just kind of persist throughout the entire run. Every warp area has 4 tracks, you get the trophy, then you get challenged by the boss on one of the courses that you just ran. So, in this case, we'll be facing off against Papu Papu on, you guessed it, Papu's Pyramid.
Now, thankfully for us, when y'all were stretching, taking a moment to get something to eat and get something to drink, Papu was not taking that same advice. He normally has a very big breakfast, but thankfully he has not done so today. A very, very nice missile hit to take the lead here. My goodness gracious. Now this is, again, one of the harder courses to manage because of that pyramid. I've mentioned before, it is vitally important to get ahead of a boss and stay ahead of a boss, because the second you get behind them, it can be really difficult to regain that lead. So being able to take out Papu on the first lap on those curves, vitally important, very difficult, and an excellent job of Spooty getting that done.
Yeah, at least Papu, like, doesn't take any of the, like, even the intended cuts on this track. So he's not too hard to get back ahead of. on this course if things go wrong at the start, but it's still best to just get ahead of him, because otherwise you've got to deal with him spraying potions everywhere. In fact, if we're fast enough, we might even still have to deal with some of the potions that he's throwing everywhere. Just...
So, that big arch jump is an intended jump. It is something that Oxide's Ghost does in time trial mode, and so it is considered developer intended. There is a pedestal that Booty's about to jump on for the 6th time. That is something that is developer intended. Tiziano that I had mentioned earlier, that was not developer intended, certainly. But the reason it's so good that we have so many shortcuts on a boss level is every boss level you are going to encounter twice.
Ooh, that potion scared me a little bit, and I tried to go too tight.
That's okay.
So I guess we'll see this bend.
We will, at least once. We're gonna hopefully, yep, we're gonna take that turn just tight enough to not have to deal with that plant, and we are going to take a win. So when you're playing casually, it does not particularly matter how fast you go, as long as you are in first place, but in a speed run, every little cut that you take matters. Papu is not himself today. See? I told you. He should have gotten up and stretched and eaten his eats and drank his drinks. But if you can find a shortcut, a boss level is a great place to do that, because you're not going to get to do it just 3 times. You'll get to do it 6 times over the course of the run. And thankfully, some of the biggest and easiest shortcuts in this game are on boss levels, so we love to see that.
Some of the harder ones are also on boss levels.
Yes, indeed. We're going to see some of that with the next boss level. The intended shortcut on the next boss level is really difficult, and negotiating it can be really tricky. Blizzard Bluff, which we've just jumped into, is not a boss level, but it does have an unintended shortcut. Once again, it's going to be something that, if Spooty completes it, is going to look easy as anything. If Spooty fails, we're gonna go, why did you even try that? But I promise you, it can be worth the time if you can get it consistent. This is an intended jump over the lake. So we skip a covered bridge with some wonderful echoes, and we have not quite hit it. So there is a little mogul you can see right there. If you're able to double jump and make that second jump off of that mogul, you'll send yourself flying just inches over that fence and skip a curve at the very end of the lap. That can wind up saving just a couple of seconds. That does add up, but if you hit the fence, that can sometimes be equivalent to hitting it twice, right? So, that said, Spooty has done a fair bit of practice and is, I'd say I'm confident in continuing to attempt that. Your C fence 2. Double jump. Very close that time. I think maybe just a little on the inside. Didn't quite hit that hill. We've talked a bit about subtle hills being what enables a very, very high jump. So it is the geometry. So we've got a little input in the chat from Leaf. Yes, so you cannot skip boss cutscenes. You can skip a lot of cutscenes, at least halfway, if not all the way in this game, but boss cutscenes cannot be skipped in this game. On the NTSC version. In the PAL version,
okay. 0 for 3. Oh well.
0 for 3. That's okay. We keep moving. We're still in first, and that's the big thing that matters, is we're able to do this without a restart. So the PAL version of the game, the European version of the game, has multiple languages. If you do not select a language at the beginning, there is simply no language. And so you'll see bosses come through with no subtitles.
Trophy pause, let's go!
So what you just saw there, chat, was a frame-perfect trick. During the beginning half of this run, you will get a hint from Aku or Uka. In the second half of the run, there is no hint. So there is a glitch in the game where you can pause in the middle of the voice line saying, "Congratulations, you have won a trophy." Usually somewhere in the word "congratulate." If you pause, you can resume play and resume control of your character much sooner than if that rest of that voice line had a chance to play out. Again, that is frame perfect. There are runners at a more advanced level will hit it maybe a third of the time. I think world record only hits it about a third of the time. No, world record hits it more than that, but the world record player I've seen hits it probably a third to half of the time. So it is something that is incredibly difficult. Congrats on getting that. Welcome to Dragon Mines. You're seeing you're seeing a boss face all across this level. That's because we're going to be seeing this level again. Let's see. So the intended cut in this level follows the course of these mine carts. You'll see them going throughout the tracks. The minecart tracks are considered off-road, so they can slow you down a lot if you have a power-up like a mask, which is like a star in Mario Kart. If you have a number of speed boosts, or if you're just really good at taking some very, very precise lines, you can make that work, but it is a very difficult shortcut to make work, and honestly, that's something I have not mastered in my time playing this game either.
Yeah, so you're not going to see me going for it. Yeah, it's right before this spiral, you just turn right onto the minecart track. But yeah, it's very cycle dependent. So, you know, like the viability of it depends on how well the rest of your laps have gone up to that point. So, like, yeah, it's a really tricky thing to make work.
Well, you'll have 3 more opportunities, and it'll be fine if you don't take any of them. But it would be very funny. We love marathons. 2 pause skips.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm gaming.
That is about a 2-second and some change save. So very, very nice to see those. Polar Pass, there is another incredibly difficult shortcut that I do not believe we're going to be seeing on this run.
But absolutely not.
But it is a feast for the eyes. I've said a lot about a number of skips in this game that do not look very difficult on the surface. This particular skip, if you see it, it's called Boomerang. Essentially, we're about to go over a series of islands here that make a nice little U-turn and then come back in. Boomerang essentially jumps over the wall we're passing on our right here onto the ramps where we are right now. It takes some incredible precision with a double jump. It can take a lot of speed.
A little slow on that.
That's okay. So it is definitely a feast for the eyes to see pulled off, though. There is one other intended shortcut in this level, that is jumping over the wall. That, again, can also be difficult to pull off without some speed and some timing, but that is one that Spooty has pulled off on a number of occasions.
I actually usually get that one. It's actually kind of surprising that I missed it.
That's marathons,
you know,
baby.
We got 2 more laps to do it.
Listen, you're showing what the difficulty of the game can be for somebody who's learned it in, you know, less than 90 days, right? It's really, really difficult to get some of the stuff down, and quite frankly, again, I've been really, really pleased with how you've risen up to the challenge, right? So my main category in this game is skipless. So skipless is intended shortcuts only. There isn't any percent. No major skips is what we're doing right now, so there are some unintended cuts. We say no major skips because the any percent category is essentially 4 minutes of menuing, memory manipulation, and stop hitting yourself over and over until you glitch into the final cutscene. Very technically neat to imagine, not the funnest run to watch. I actually submitted no major skips because I wanted to provide the opportunity for somebody to learn more skips beyond what's available in skipless. And I'm very, very pleased. While I would not have been disappointed to see a skipless run, I've been very, very pleased to see you rise up to the challenge and kind of learn the nitty-gritty of how some of these skips work in memory. So kudos to you. Chat, if you're looking to get involved in something like this, we would love to see you here. Speedromizer is a charity marathon with a twist, where what you submit is not what you run. Accepted runners are randomly assigned a game from someone else and have 90 days to learn their respective game. If that sounds like an awesome concept to you, it's certainly been providing some really cool results. Make sure to join our Discord at speedromizer.live/Discord.
Congratulations. You win a trophy.
Not 3 for 3 on the trophy skips. Oh.
That's all right. Now, 2 for 3 is still fabulous so far. If you don't get another pause in this entire run, 2 pause skips is still an incredible accomplishment.
And yeah, to add to what you were talking about, I did actually like at least try pretty much every major cut in the run, at least for a little while, to just kind of feel out what seemed reasonable for me to learn and which didn't. So, and yeah, some of the cuts, like this portion in particular has one that I will absolutely not be going for.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, we were talking about, like, you know, we kind of talked about the Polar Pass and pointed out, like, you know, the fence that you have to jump over to make it work, and, like, you know, how far away that fence looked. Like, you could probably tell just by watching that. That is not an easy cut to make. Tiny Arena's shortcut involves damage boosting with a very specifically placed nitro cart by the player, and then you just, like, power slide into a very specifically positioned nitro cart at a very specific angle and speed, and it lets you bounce over a wall and skip most of the lap. You can do that twice. You still have to do the first lap as intended, but it's such a particular setup, and you need to be able to just nail every aspect of it for it to even be viable. And if you mess it up, then, like, you're spending so much time setting it up that whether you're even able to win the race at that point gets called into question.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of contention in the community when Tiny Arena became something that you could repeat, not reliably, but reliably enough that some people started incorporating it into their runs. It absolutely was a run killer, right? And so there were people who were saying, we need to divide categories, we need to create a new category for this, or we need to create a variable for this to filter out what runs do this skip and that skip, and you just wind up in the weeds, because what skips do you do that for? What skips do you not do something like that for? But that really is a testament to just how dramatic the skip was and how unfun it is to not be able to hit. You know, the amount of grinding you have to do. Again, world record. The world record holder loses countless runs to Tiny Arena skip. Despite having like a solid, maybe like 20% consistency, right? But world record does it twice. And so you have to be able to get that 20% luck twice. And it is partly RNG dependent. We mentioned hitting a nitro crate. You got a 40% chance of getting a nitro crate, but that also means you have a 60% chance of not getting a nitro crate, right? So even the best RNG is working against you.
Yeah, like if you're looking for a world record, you gotta land it twice. You can execute perfectly, but if you just don't get a nitro crate for that last lap, you're just kind of SOL.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, as we were coming into this this level, welcome to Wario Stadium. I mean, Tiny Arena, but it really is, in a lot of ways,
there's
Wario
a
Stadium
lot of influence that you can tell they pulled from Mario Kart.
With the same wall jump, skip, and everything. This is also the first track that will make you regret picking a speed character as a beginner.
Yeah, some of these turns are so rough on the speed characters, because as you probably could guess, the speed characters have the worst turning radius of all of the character types.
And that's why acceleration for a long time was considered to be meta in this game. Acceleration characters also have the second best speed and the second best, or the third best turning. And so there really wasn't much downside to picking an acceleration character for the longest time. It gave you the best balance. And so now, again, speed characters are technically optimized. There's a technique called U-turning that comes into play a lot, where you will hit down, plus a direction, plus square to brake, and make a hard turn. Some people will even do this in the air for certain tricks. U-turning is a skill that, again, easy to pick up, hard to master. Right? Knowing when to execute it, getting that timing just right can be very difficult. And without it, speed characters are not particularly, about on par, maybe even a little behind acceleration characters. And again, I mentioned earlier, if you like a turning character, just play the turning character. The whole point of speedrunning is to have fun, right? You can filter out on the boards on speedrun.com. If you only want to see turning characters, you could hold a turning world record if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you, right? So, I mean, that's the whole point of this, is challenging ourselves and having some fun while we're doing it.
Yeah, going for speed characters is really only something you have to do if you're looking to be world record competitive, and ain't nobody gonna be picking up this game and being at that point right away. Oh, wow, okay, I thought I was far enough behind that. I guess we get flat cocoa for a little bit.
That is okay. And that's also why I wound up running skipless for as long as I did, and why I still think of skipless as a more fun run for me personally, right? Because it's developing a lot of those core skills, more so than relying on the kind of specificity that you need and the kind of luck that you need for skips like Tiziano, for skips like Tiny Arena, right? So, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to be on the board for, you know, the main category that shows up right away, but, like, I'm having fun, you know? And that's what we do.
That's what matters at the end of the day.
I mean, that's why we played these games over and over and over as kids. We're having fun, but Komodo Joe is certainly not having fun. We're going to skip this cutscene, but trust when we say that he's simply sobbing on the podium before collecting himself enough to give us this lovely speech.
Yeah, he's a real ray of sunshine, this guy.
I think you're not
he's all the sunshine he needs. That's why he races in a cave. No? Cave humor? No? Okay. I forgot I wasn't going to hear chat laughing. I was just expecting like a laugh track in my ears for some reason. This is the kind of comedy that we do here.
Yeah, so we're coming up on the last warp zone with that with Komodo Joe behind us, going out of the Arctic area into the castle area, and yeah, there's a lot of cool tracks down here with some cool tech in here. We got Engine Labs, and yeah, this is the perfect map to talk a little bit more about the boost and fire system, because we're gonna be abusing some of that here.
Yeah, now Tiny Arena was your warning that maybe you should be considering the turning ability of your character and your hands on the controller. Hub 4 has a lot of tracks that make you do the same. Engine Labs, I wouldn't personally consider to be one of them, but there are a lot of 90-degree turns that make you go, oh, that's scary. So we just boosted through a ginormous tunnel there, and I'm actually going to come back to that in a little bit. But this track is absolutely rife with turbo pads, just about everywhere. You're gonna see
the one we're coming up on here
Yep.
is very special.
So you'll notice that we did not take the ramp that was right in front of us. We took a jump that was just a little bit off to the side to hit a turbo ramp that we've already hit. So this is a great example of a technique called Ultra Sacred Fire. It's a very, very dramatic name for essentially what's a relatively simple thing. We mentioned earlier boosting to top speed and then continuing to boost puts extra energy into your reserves, right? Ultra Sacred Fire pads, I cannot remember for the life of me, again, long weekend, whether those were intended by the developers or not. There's some jumps that make me think, yes, they must be. But Ultra Sacred Fire pads essentially take all of the reserves that you're not supposed to use up and starts burning them all at once. You'll notice that that turbo jump pad here that we're about to go over for a 5th time, right around the next corner, not this pad, but the next one, we wind up going very, very fast, right? Now, the unintended part of this is essentially it's burning out all of your reserves all at once to give you a top speed that's faster than what you should have. And those turbo pads always wind up being over large jumps that the developers really, really want you to make. What may or may not have been intentional is the fact that boosting again after hitting one of those pads will end that boost. It'll immediately deplete your reserves, and that's why you're noticing Spooty hopping and drifting just a little bit, but not boosting after hitting one of those Ultra Sacred Fire pads. You'll see another set of those in Cortex Castle down the road. There's another one in Hot Air Skyway.
Congratulations. You win a trophy.
no trophy skip there. That's all right. We are still, what, 2 for 5 on those.
Getting 2 is like, I hadn't gotten any of those before today, and then I got 2 in my PB before, in practice earlier today, and now I've gotten 2 here. Like, I couldn't be happier.
So, Spooty, you had mentioned earlier, I don't know if you mentioned this in this stream just yet, but I know you've mentioned on stream playing this game to death as a kid.
Yep, sure did.
So that was a common experience that you and I actually shared. This was the game that got me into, first off, it's the game that got me into the PlayStation, right? There were times where I was like, why didn't I have a Nintendo 64? But looking back, I'm so glad I was playing Crash Team Racing. I actually had not had a Crash Bandicoot game before this. This is my introduction to the Crash Bandicoot universe. This was my introduction to kart racers. This is my introduction to the PlayStation. It was not my introduction to video games, but it may as well have been, right? And so when it came time, this was also my introduction to speedrunning. I was on Twitch just searching around for, games to feel nostalgia. I said, oh, Crash Team Racing, and I ran into one person playing it casually, and I ran into the world record holder playing Crash Team Racing. And that was the moment I went, this isn't just a collect-a-thon that you grind. This is something that you can just play really, really fast. This is beautiful. I want to do this now. And it was the first game that I came back to speedrun. D-Rust Run, I think I got 1 hour and 20 minutes because I had played this game so much as a kid that the muscle memory for turbo boosts was just still there. However, Leaf Razor Storm is in the chat and will remember this vividly. I had to play through Cortex Castle 3 times in order to complete the run. I did not win the first time. I had to restart the second time. The third time I finally got through it.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal course.
Yeah, even with an acceleration character, these turns can be an absolute
that turn I just got through is one of the roughest parts. That uphill into the quick, little S-bend jog, it's really tricky.
Yeah, correction, apparently it was at least 3 times. We're not specifying the number, apparently. So that
there we go. That's Cortex Castle done.
So that very last jump off into the air was Ultra Sacred Fire. You may have noticed there was one time where we took a hang time turbo, we got a boost, and then pretty much petered out immediately after. But some of the times we were able to hold on to that.
Yeah, there's only going to be 2 more courses for the rest of the run. We're just going to alternate back and forth between Hot Air Skyway and Oxide Station for the end stretch of the run here.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier that getting shortcuts on a boss level is very helpful. We are about to say, as Spooty mentioned, we're about to play the same 2 courses 4 times in a row. So shortcuts on these 2 courses are going to be key to getting this time lowered.
You know what? I'm going to hold this mask for the shortcut.
You know what? Honestly, yeah. Fair play. And some very good luck getting a mask there.
Yeah, you can only get a mask if you're not in first place at the moment you hit the item box. And even if you're in second, I think the odds are still pretty low. So
there's 3 notable shortcuts on this track. And Spooty, I don't know if you're able to bring up the mini-map, that'd be a really helpful illustration.
Okay. Well, okay, apparently the mask didn't help me. You still get pushed around a little bit, even if you're invincible from it.
That's unfortunate. So chat, you'll notice there is a figure 8 towards the left-hand side of that mini-map. What Spooty just did was skip that figure 8 altogether by jumping over a wall in an unintended fashion. There are 3 major skips on this course. One of them is right here around this hairpin curve. If you are able to build up enough speed, you are able to jump over the wall and skip just a little smidgen of that hairpin curve. That's another one that world record the world record holder can't nail consistently. It is just it is a deceptively high wall. The collision goes
I might just try to go for it just to show what what the angle kind of looks like. Well, that's rude.
Yes, it is. There is another skip where you wind up grinding on walls a fair bit. Oh, thank you, Pura, for taking that missile for us. That was beautiful. You love to see it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get that lucky.
I was kind of wondering if I could bounce from the missile over the fence, but...
Yeah,
no such
unfortunately,
luck.
that would not work thanks to the checkpoint system in the game. It would have stopped you from getting over there. So
The AI is not cooperating.
Now, the checkpoint is not that far down, right?
Okay.
That's why we drive past the wall. It's not just to wind up getting a little bit of extra height off of that ramp for that jump, but it's also to make sure that the next section is loaded up, and then we can get in there without the game thinking that we're cheating. The game only allows you to be in certain areas. If you try to jump to another part of the level before you've passed certain checkpoints, a mask will swoop in and say, nope, you can't do that, and put you back where you started. And that is going to come into play big time in the next level. There is one other skip that it really has to be seen more so than explained. It's very early on in the level, and it skips this iconic spiral in Hot Air Skyway, so I'm very glad that y'all get to see that iconic spiral. That's another Ultra Sacred Fire panel, if I'm remembering correctly. That last jump over that huge gap onto that fork. About to take this ramp up. There we go,
Okay,
we got
no
our wall
interference
jump.
that time.
Yep. Stayed ahead of the pack just long enough. You may have noticed that Spooty has fallen off our hit walls when making that jump. That is okay, that is still faster. Oh! Okay, we saw
almost.
something very close to taking that last hairpin there. So it is okay to hit a wall or fall off on that wall jump. Because it still winds up being faster than going through that figure eight. That hairpin curve, which Spooty almost nailed, and you can see that kind of grinding on the collision for a second. Just absolutely, that was really cool to see you come so close there.
Yeah, I haven't landed it once yet, and that was probably the closest I've ever gotten.
Yeah. Somebody said distinctly not Rainbow Road, and yes, that's pretty much it. I've affectionately coined Hot Air Skyway Rainbow Road for straight people. It's not rainbow. It's unfortunate, but I think it's still just a really wonderful level to see anyhow, right? But yeah, Oxide Station. So what you just saw was skipping part of the level and then coming back specifically so we could hit a checkpoint to load the second section of the level, which Spooty's about to drop into here. We're about to drop the... Yep, there we go. Fabulous. So that happened so quickly I could barely explain it. Again, the map would be helpful here if you're able to do so. Don't interrupt the run. Oh, there it is. So you can see there's 3 kind of clover leaves hanging off of a central hub. The very beginning of this race dumps you into that central hub where you see all of those spirals, and at various points on your trip down that spiral, you'll take a shortcut into one of those 3 curves, right? So what is happening here is we're essentially dropping down to get further down the spiral faster than if we had driven it, right? So we drop into the second half of that spiral. Now we have the second portion of the track loaded. We're going back up to that same spot so we can then... Yep, we get up and we drive a little bit further. This is a very, very difficult jump to land, by the way. So we've skipped the second part, and then by leaping from there onto the third part of the level, we skip the third cloverleaf in the bottom right-hand corner. And so the top cloverleaf is the only one that we wind up having to worry about on a well-intended run. So
yeah, if you do the courses as intended, as you'd expect with this being, Oxide Station, it's the course, named after the main antagonist. It's the longest course in the game. It's meant to kind of be the climax, and so yeah, it's the longest course. But with these shortcuts, it's actually just kind of an average length course.
Yeah. Now, I would strongly encourage playing this casually just to see that last, one of the final jumps is simply iconic, just soaring through space. It's an incredible time, and it's a shame that speedrunning winds up skipping it. But I have mentioned skipless a couple of times for anybody who wants to run it. Skipless, you can get an optimal time and you still have to go through space. So, wink wink. No, but skipless is a great way to learn the game and to learn the mechanics as well before you start diving into some of these really cool shortcuts that Spooty's been so incredible in showcasing for us. Oh my goodness gracious.
Wow, you call that racing?
Yeah, we're already coming up on the end of the run.
About it. If you's gonna
Foists in the chat, anybody?
You's gonna have to get past me.
Foists in the chat?
Foist.
I'm the speed champion here, and I'm gonna save the world. For a sizable fee, of course.
So for anybody, what accent are we hearing there? I would say an obnoxious North Jersey, but like from somebody who's not from North Jersey. I could be wrong. It's very open to interpretation. I gotta be honest, for as frustrating as this boss race can be, because Pinstripe is an acceleration character on a course that really excels with acceleration characters, this can be a very difficult boss to get in front of and a difficult boss to stay in front of, especially in skipless. But I have a hard time hating it when some of these voice lines are just so iconic and delivered so well. Very nice wall skip, and that is a great way to get ahead of our opponent very quickly and stay ahead that way.
Have some of this.
Yeah, good. I see good feathers. Oh my goodness, good feathers. I know good feathers is Animaniacs, but that came from Goodfellas, right? Were the Goodfellas as obnoxious as the good feathers?
Yeah, right.
Trying to remember here. Tempest, are we looking for chips in the chat? I believe that would be speedromizer.live/chips for those who were interested. Put that in the chat there, see what happens. Yes, there it is. So an incredible job keeping ahead. Let's see, do we get our second wall jump here?
Wrong way.
Yes, we do. Well
It's a
executed.
good enough U-turn, you don't fall off the edge, but I can't get the turn quite right on the, the angle for it quite right.
And again, it still saves massive time over the complete figure eight.
Got in the railing again.
No, that's okay. You know, it's always fun seeing these attempts made, especially in a marathon setting, right? It's really cool seeing things happen in a marathon setting, especially when we're doing it for such great causes like QMUNITY. QMUNITY is going to be getting at least 1,600 Canadian dollars thanks to a $28.59 donation from Corey, bringing us to that $1,600 mark. Thank you so much to Corey for your generous donation. Chat, for those of you who are wondering why we're doing all of this, it is for QMUNITY, British Columbia's queer, trans, and two-spirit resource center, providing safe space for two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersexual, and asexual folks and their allies. They improve the lives of their communities and provide them with support through an array of programs and services like its youth, seniors, and older adults, counseling, employment, and informational and referrals programming and services. They help connect folks through volunteer opportunities and peer support groups. QMUNITY also provides education services and queer inclusivity training through publications, one-on-one consultations, and interactive workshops. They are provided by folks with far more grace and humility than Pinstripe is showing here.
Lucky with oxide. Here's a key for your troubles.
Yeah, we're coming up on the final boss, and it is just pretty much just Oxide Station again, but this time we have fewer racers we have to worry about crashing into when we go back up the spiral the first time.
Yeah, now you've noticed through these boss runs, each one of them has had a weapon of choice. Ripperoo had TNT crates, Papu had potions, Komodo Joe had nitros, Pinstripe had bombs. Oxide takes all three and does one last thing to make it harder. He cheats! He starts just a little bit early. He needs a head start. I guess the, is it Gasmoxia? If I remember correctly, is the planet that he's from. I guess the standards are different in Gasmoxia. The third red light means go. In fairness, anybody here who's seen F1 racing? Lights Out confused me at first, so I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding, right? Because if it was not a misunderstanding and it was actually cheating, then, you know, we don't have to feel nearly as bad.
Really? Did I not go far enough?
That's possible. We may have to hit that checkpoint there.
Yeah, I'm actually just going to restart then, because, yeah, having to go all the way down there again, it's...
Yeah, you can lose a fair bit of time, and if you're not able to stay ahead of Oxide through those jumps, that can spell disaster. Again, because those weapons can get really bad. Those potions in particular always wind up showing up at some of the worst times and creating some of the hardest lines to take. Getting onto this fence is no joke without a potion in your way. In fact, Oxide does a great job of throwing potions directly in your path at the most inopportune times. And in the most inopportune places.
That should be good this time.
Yeah. We've taken...
Okay, sometimes that randomly happens. Not sure why, but we're good. Imagine that when you take, a course and smash it to pieces and skip large portions of it, sometimes the game acts in strange ways. It
starts fighting back a little bit. It's like, hang on, I said you could go faster. I didn't say that fast. Masks are a little bit jealous of your ability to simply phase through the game, be omnipresent.
Ooh, don't know if I'm... Yeah, I'm gonna... There's a lot of weird geometry hanging over the road we're trying to land on, and sometimes you kind of bounce around off of it and just fall out of bounds.
In case this wasn't clear, chat, riding those fences is not intended. Getting on top of them in the first place, let alone riding that far to get into another area, let alone jumping over them here. None of that is intended. That's okay.
Not where I'm supposed to land.
You've got a second shot at it. To skip. There we go. So that's one that can be difficult if you have not practiced. It does take practice, it does take timing. Because again, that's not something that's supposed to happen. So this has just been an incredible run. Really, really excited to see where we wind up at the end of the day.
And yeah, this is the last lap of the run.
So this is the last time we'll get to see these fun little checkpoints loading.
I'm not trusting that that was far enough back. I'm just gonna make sure this time.
Hey, listen, especially in a marathon setting, there's no shame in that.
Yeah, like the jump down there, like lands you pretty much right on the line of, that checkpoint where it loads the next section of the map. So if you land just a little too far forward, then you have what you saw happen on the first attempt. I had to restart away, where it's like, all right, I'm nailed it, and then you land the next portion and you just get booted back to the first one. You're like, oh, I'm sad now.
Time will be when Spooty crosses the finish line, coming up very, very shortly here. And time.
There we go. Well, missed the sub hour, but look, by my figuring, I got about an hour 56.
Yeah, it looks like
50-ish.
Yeah, 1 hour and 25 seconds is what I'm seeing here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Oxide cannot believe that you beat him, but I certainly can. Again, incredible job. Coming in 10 minutes under estimate, right? I never know what to expect with runners, what time and energy they're able to put in. I know this time around, I actually had applied to run, and then I realized my time and energy was not going to be there, and I did have to drop. I did that about 2 months ago to make sure that, the operation ran as smoothly as it can. But Spooty, I mean, I know you said that you got in a little bit late, but clearly you did end up putting the time in. To come in under estimate is an achievement in and of itself. To have PB'd at under an hour, that is a huge barrier for somebody who, is just starting the game, relatively speaking. So hats off to you. I could not be prouder. I'm so glad to have submitted this run. I'm so glad that you got it, and so glad that I got to see this growth and this action. Well done.
Yeah, I'm glad I had you not just sending this game in and helping me out, but I got you as my host. One host and commentator for my run in one convenient package, and you did a great job. I really appreciate it. Yeah, you definitely had a lot more insight into the game than I do, especially when I'm having to focus on the run itself. Yeah, couldn't have done this without you.
And that is absolutely, and that's the thing, chat. Speedromizer, you can submit, you can run, you can do one or the other, or you could do both, right? And so by all means, if there's something that you're passionate about, it's okay if you want to submit and not run the game, but be there for your runner. Because you can develop some bonds over that, and if they love your game, then you've grown your community a little bit by being an active part of this. And you've done it all for a great cause while you're at it. Chat, I am still stunned. We've raised over $1,600. We've raised $1,600 Canadian dollars for community tonight. What an incredible finish to this evening. Spooty, where can folks find you? Do you have any final shout-outs?
Not really. Just shout outs to want to just give it. I will throw out shout outs to the Condor racing scene, Crypt of the Necrodancer online racing. They're a big part of what got me like really invested in speedrunning as a whole. Just learning to speedrun Crypt of the Necrodancer, which I've submitted to Speedromizer before. Very, very, very fun speed game. They're a big part of the runner I am now. All of the speedrunners out there, everyone, as we're coming up on the end of the marathon, just everyone who submitted a game or learned a game or just did commentary, volunteered. Big marathons like this are a ton of work, on the part of everyone involved. And, again, raised $1,600 Canadian dollars for community. That's huge. That's absolutely massive. And every one of you was a part of that. So, that's something to be proud of. And, again, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much to Spooty, to all of our runners, to all of our submitters and teachers, to our incredible, incredible tech team, which, by the way, you can be a part of. Yes, it is a big lift, but many hands make for light work, and if you only have a certain amount of time and energy, we will make sure to not give you more than you can handle. The tech team and the scheduling team were very, very flexible in making sure that, folks are taken care of first and foremost. But whatever you feel an inclination to do, please do join us in our Discord. We'll be more than happy to have you. Thank you to HypnoShark for introducing me to speedrunning through this game. Thank you so much to the speedrunning community for keeping me in speedrunning. Thank you to Speedromizer for, turning that passion into an outlet for some incredible good and for an incredibly good time. With that, I would like to hand it off to the brain that kind of got this all started. DJ Fatso, take it away.